types of product launches. There's the minor upgrades, that'd be nice to have. And then there are the holy crap, this changes everything worth the hype products. And the DJI AVATA, for me personally, changes everything and will probably be the drone that opens up FPV to everyone. It's a tiny Cinewhoop styled FPV drone with prop guards built in already. We have a little single axis gimbal, which is fine. We'll explain that in a second. Shoots up to 60 frames per second in 4K. There's no 24 frames per second, I assume, because they are doing both the recording and monitoring with the goggles through the same camera. And you definitely want 60 frames per second when you're monitoring with the goggles, because otherwise you're probably gonna crash. And we have a completely new goggle design, which I absolutely love. And there's really 3 big reasons why the DJI AVATA is incredible. And that is the size, the quality, and the post-processing. So far so good, haven't crashed. Epic scenery. Yola's our tour guide.
Are you filming to make it go to your computer?
Yep, we're making a video. Typically, when I fly FPV, I need a whole other bag for my FPV setup. It takes a lot of space. The FPV drones, the goggles, everything is huge. Now I can literally fit this pretty much in any camera bag. The drone is 18 centimeters by 18 centimeters by 8 centimeters, which is actually smaller than my other pre-built Cinewhoops. It's very, very small. And it's not just the drone, the goggles are also much smaller. Here are the previous DJI FPV goggles. Here are the new ones. They are way, way smaller and more slimmed down. You can adjust the position of both of the lenses and also the focus, which is really nice. And the image coming out of these is incredible. It's so crystal clear. I was able to dodge even the smallest of things. And that makes a really big difference when you're flying. Well, I mean, it also makes it much more fun to just fly and you can see like perfectly clear. It's like almost like you yourself are flying. But also, it's just way safer. You're not gonna hit some sort of little branch or power line or something like that if you can actually see it. The range was incredible, no issues there. And since it's smaller, you might be guessing it probably doesn't fly very well. Well, I think you're wrong. It flies really, really nice. Now, of course, it is a Cinewhoop style, smaller FPV, so it's probably meant for more like indoor flying and precision stuff. But actually, I took it to the mountains of Norway, massive mountains, dive bombing waterfalls, and it had no problems at all keeping up. Now, I would say if it was like a windier day, it would probably be a bit trickier. And I also did notice when I was trying to follow the cars, it was a lot harder, even with just a little bit of wind to kind of keep up with the car. Of course, it's not gonna be as powerful as your bigger DJI FPV drone, but it is smaller and also quieter. It's much quieter than that big guy, which in certain circumstances is quite nice because FPVs can be pretty loud and intimidating and draw a little bit of unwanted attention. Also, the batteries are smaller, quite a bit smaller actually, so again, just saving a ton of space in your camera bag to the point where now you can take a full FPV setup with you in your normal camera bag and not have to decide like, do I have to dump a whole bunch of other stuff? Can I even take a normal drone because I have the FPV drone? Which do I take? Or do I have to take another bag with me? Now I can just take the whole thing with me every single time I go on a trip, travel anywhere. It just flew the FPV drone through a snow tunnel. I did not expect to say that, but it's been done. Oh, I've been flying FPV for a long time and I haven't been able to fly in really epic cool places until now. So
risking it for the basic.
Yeah,
always.
Really risking it for this one. But who cares if it's small? How is the quality? The quality is actually really good. It's actually better than the bigger DJI FPV camera. And that's largely because of the wider field of view. That was one of my biggest criticisms with the first DJI FPV, the bigger one. It's just not wide enough, and so you have to put on a GoPro and no stabilization, real steady, all of that stuff. It gets a little bit complicated. This little guy right here has a focal length of 12.6 millimeters, whereas the previous DJI FPV had a focal length of 14.66 millimeters. Yes, you do get a little bit of crazy warping on the edges sometimes, but overall, the image coming out of this is very nice, which is so surprising, saying it about a FPV drone that does both the monitoring, like sending the feed to the goggles, and the recording from the same camera. I honestly didn't think that it could really be done in a high quality way, but what do I know about engineering? What do I know about cameras? Of course it can be done. I honestly thought this was gonna be like, cool, nice little drone. Now, what camera do we strap on here? But actually, I don't think you need any other camera. The quality is quite nice. Oh, there is also 100 frames per second in 2.7K. I just didn't get a chance to test it yet. I was on vacation. I was trying to, actually relax and not do any work. But when DJI sends you a little drone like this, you have to fly it when you're in Norway. So that's what you get.
Okay. Not swifty.
See you later. I feel like that's a good spot right there. That's where I want to be FPVing. Yep, that's the spot. That's definitely the spot. If there's an FPV spot, that's the spot.
And if you're confused about what this FPV drone thing is all about, it's basically just a more manual free-flying drone that you can do all sorts of insane things like dive bomb waterfalls or follow rivers, things you couldn't do with a normal drone, and that's because of zero latency into the goggle feed, so you can see from the goggles what the drone is seeing at the exact same time, so you can avoid little obstacles and fly through little cracks and do insane stuff. And funny enough, the stabilization is also better than on the bigger, more expensive DJI FPV. Mostly, I'm sure, because of that wider focal length. Good call, DJI, on doing that. With better stabilization, it actually makes the footage completely usable straight out of camera. None of that footage that I filmed or showed you guys had any processing at all in terms of stabilization. That's straight out of the little FPV drone. I don't know do you guys know how big of a deal that is? Like, especially when I started in FPV, you had to, strap on a GoPro, have very specific settings, then film in like the 4:3 weird aspect ratio, then stick it into Real Steady. It took lots of time back then. Real Steady was slower, took so much processing time, and all of these just extra steps. Now, you just pull out the little tiny FPV drone, fly it, bam, put it in the editing program, and you're done. I don't know, again, game changer. That changes the way I think about FPV filmmaking because I can do it more often, easier. If I have a really fast turnaround on a video, I could still just pop up the FPV drone and get some cool shots, stick them in the video, because it doesn't take up more time now. That's a really, really big deal. And that's not throwing any shade on Real Steady. Real Steady is the best program, and it's probably still gonna be better quality, putting on a GoPro and Real Steadying and doing all those many, many steps. But to have this level of quality, this level of stabilization straight from the camera, straight from the drone, is a big deal. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh, and the reason you don't need a 3-axis gimbal is because it's so wide, so you can just use software to stabilize it. And a 3-axis gimbal on an FPV drone is kind of a bad idea because these things do crash. I don't know if you guys know, they do crash, so you probably don't want a fragile 3-axis gimbal on this. A few other things, battery life, incredible. I think depending on how hard you fly, you're probably gonna get around 8 to 10 minutes of flight time, which for some of you sounds like, wow, that's so short. And for some, if you've been in FPV, you're like, holy crap, that's so long, especially with these little batteries getting 8 to 10 minutes, that's incredible. Another huge thing is internal storage. I've been saying this for a little while now. Every single camera coming out in 2022 or later on should have internal storage. This thing has 20 gigabytes, which is especially convenient on an FPV drone because you can put an SD card in, fly your first battery, then take out that SD card and fly your second battery because there are high chances of you crashing, and if you crash with the SD card in there, you will lose all of that footage. So it's very, very convenient. ND filters, really easy to put on. Done. Convenient. Honestly, everything makes this easier to use than any other FPV out there. Everything from actually functionally taking it along with you on a trip, to the flying experience, to the image you get, to how easy it is to use the footage. This will completely change the world of FPV filmmaking. Get ready to see a whole lot more FPV footage in everybody's videos. If you're looking to get into FPV, if you're thinking about it, it's so easy to recommend this. It's rare that it's this easy to recommend something. This is the obvious choice as your first FPV drone. Well done, DJI. Just one product after another, destroying it. This was a good one. Worth the hype. Worth watching all of the 15 million embargo videos out there. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Isaac, check out this FPV.
Is this new? You want a thumbnail?
Give me some more. She just shot the brand new FPV. First thing I'm back and he just smashed it to the ground. Let's hope it still flies. Good test of durability. Didn't crash it yet. That's great. So Isaac had to throw it on the ground, just smash it.